This lecture covers the topic, the Second New Deal, and the focus question is, what were the major initiatives of the Second New Deal and how did they differ from the First New Deal? These popular movements and the CIO helped create the Second New Deal, launched by Roosevelt in 1935 and buoyed by Democratic gains in Congress in 1934. The First New Deal had focused on economic recovery. The second was centered on economic security, the guarantee that government would protect Americans from unemployment and poverty. The belief that a lack of consumer demand caused the Depression had become popularized by Long, Townsend, and the CIO. By 1935, many New Dealers believed government should no longer try to stimulate business recovery, but should redistribute income in order to sustain mass purchasing power in the consumer economy. Congress imposed a tax on large fortunes and corporate profits and created the Rural Electrification Agency, or REA, to bring electricity to homes, thus enabling rural Americans to purchase household appliances. The REA was one of the most successful New Deal programs. The federal government also attempted to promote soil conservation and family farming, as policymakers believed that prosperity was impossible when farmers' standard of living lagged behind that of urban workers and the middle class. In 1934, FDR had limited federal employment programs, but now he established a Works Progress Administration, or WPA, which hired 3 million Americans each year until it ended in 1943. Directed by Harry Hopkins, the WPA transformed the American landscape. It built thousands of public buildings, bridges, roads, airports, stadiums, swimming pools, and sewage treatment plants. The WPA even employed white-collar professionals. The most famous WPA projects were in the arts and included murals, historical and tourist guidebooks, and the federal theater and dance projects. In 1935, Congress also created a National Youth Administration to provide relief to American teenagers and young adults. The Wagner Act was another major Second New Deal measure. It democratized the American workplace by empowering a National Labor Relations Board to supervise elections in which employees voted on union representation. Sponsored by Senator Robert Wagner of New York, the bill also made illegal unfair labor practices such as firing and blacklisting union organizers that had stymied organization in the past. Collective bargaining was redefined as a crucial element of American freedom, and now legally protected, would offer workers a mechanism by which they could win higher wages and thus contribute to the recovery. The Social Security Act of 1935 was the most important element of the Second New Deal. It represented Roosevelt's belief that the government had to guarantee the material well-being of ordinary Americans. It established a system of unemployment insurance, old age pensions, and aid to the disabled, elderly poor, and families with dependent children. Though these programs built on old progressive proposals, this was a permanent system of social insurance. The Social Security Act created the American version of the welfare state, a term with origins in World War II-era Britain that referred to income assistance, medical care, and social services for all citizens. Although unprecedented in American history, the American welfare state, compared to welfare states in Europe, was more decentralized, spent less, and covered fewer citizens. The original Social Security bill contained a system of national health insurance that was eliminated after vehement opposition by the American Medical Association, which feared government regulation of doctors' incomes and practices. While some New Dealers wanted a universal program funded by general tax revenues with a single set of eligibility standards administered by federal officials, Secretary of Labor Francis Perkins and powerful congressmen wanted to keep relief in state and local hands and make workers contribute to the costs of their own benefits. FDR wanted Social Security taxes to come from employers and workers rather than general revenues in order to give working citizens a legal, moral, and political right to collect their old age pensions and unemployment benefits, which Congress would not dare violate. Thus, Social Security became a mixture of national and local funding, control, and eligibility standards. Old age pensions were administered nationally, but paid for by taxes on workers and employers. These taxes also paid for unemployment insurance, but this was decentralized, allowing states to set unemployment benefit levels. The states paid most of the costs for direct poor relief in a program called Aid to Dependent Children, and eligibility and payment varied greatly. Social Security was a significant departure from American government's traditional function, and the Second New Deal dramatically changed the relationship between the federal government and American citizens. Before the 1930s, Americans asked whether the government should intervene in the economy. After the New Deal, Americans asked only how the government should intervene.